All right, let's do this thing. What do you think? Consider it started. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it, especially to the guy sitting next to Desi. No one there, folks. My name is Dave McCorney. I'm your host. This is WestSide Stories. By applause, how many people have never been to WestSide Stories before? By applause? Like, smattering of people, nice. And then let's go conversely by applause, how many people have been to WestSide Stories? Well, we are just about wrapping up our 4th year of doing this, which is totally cool. And thank you guys once again for selling out the show. We greatly appreciate it. I have to put a daughter through college, so it's really important, your whole $5. There you go. Let's tell you a little bit about what you are getting yourself into here tonight. These are 5-minute true stories told live on stage without notes. And I will hit a bell at 5 minutes over there. When a storyteller is up here, they will hear a bell and they get 59 seconds to wrap it up. If they go to hear the second bell, which would be at 6 minutes, that means they technically are not eligible for the prize money. And the big prize money at the end of the evening, $50 whole. There you go, cash money. Right there, $50. Hey, and $50 goes a long way. Come to 10 more of these shows, for crying out loud. There you go. Let me tell you a little more about the rules, okay? Tonight's theme is do the right thing, and the stories should be based somewhere around do the right thing. Once again, they need to be under 6 whole minutes long. And at the end of the evening, those little green tickets, those of you that have never been here before, if your green ticket is pulled at the end of the evening, I will read off the number. If it is yours, you are the judge for the evening, and you get to choose who your favorite storyteller was. It's really easy. You just close your eyes and point. No, actually what you do, I'll bring everybody back up front here, and you'll get to remember all the stories by just looking at the 10 people. 10 stories are told for the evening. We will pull 10 names here. I believe I have 11. So I know it sucks for somebody, but they'll just have to come back next month. That's the way that works. But yeah, 10 stories are told, and that we keep it to 10 because if not, what if there's 17 names there? We're here till Thursday, and that's not going to work. So we just do the 10 every time and keep it to the theme, and that's the scoop right there. Once again, my name's Dave. I made my living as a stand-up comic for over 10 years. I toured west of Illinois, pretty much anywhere, and the story I'm going to tell you tonight, I've actually told this story before. I was working on a new story, but it's not ready, so I'm going to change it a little bit so it's ready for next month. Because the theme next month is affliction. So we'll deal with that next month. I'm going to start out by telling you, and I know that PCA is filming us this evening. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have a bleep. You're going to have one bleep. I know, I'm going to say a bad word. And I don't think it's that bad, but, you know, it's a word that won't be broadcast over TV. And here's a scoop. I'm going to start out by telling you just a random little joke. I did not write the joke. It's just a joke. It is not a true story, but it pertains to the true story that I will be telling you in a little bit. So it's about 2 little kids, 8 and 9 years old, 2 little boys. Worst 2 little kids you were ever going to meet in your life. All they ever do, yell and scream and throw their clothes all over the house and swear at their mother and give her the finger, and it's just, they're horrible little snots. And I gotta tell you, the mother's tried everything. She's tried putting them to bed with no dinner, no television, taking away the Game Boy, go to your room, taking the door off the hinges, all this stuff, and nothing is working. Still, every night before they go off to bed, she gets the finger, and she says, that's it. I've tried everything, your Dr. Spock books, all that stuff, nothing is working. Starting tomorrow, I have to go to good old-fashioned corporal punishment. I am going to whoop you if it doesn't change. And they're like, yeah, right. And they give her the finger and they go off to bed. Coming out for breakfast the next morning, the mother looks at the older of the 2 boys and says, what would you like for breakfast? He looks over at his brother, gives a little wink and a nod, and he says, a stack of pancakes. She can't even believe her ears. She just snaps. She just loses. She just takes a spatula, smacks the kid, knocks him off the stool, boots him down there, just smacking the hell out of the kid. He's laying there, completely unconscious. She turns around, looks at the other little kid and says, what do you want for breakfast? He looks at her and goes, I want fucking pancakes. That is the joke, and you have to know that joke because it pertains later in the story. I made my living as a comic, and I toured, like I said, all over the place. I was hitting the road for 3 weeks, 21 days, 21 shows in 20 different cities. I was going to start, and I had 2 shows in the big town. Boise, Idaho, the big town. Yeah. It's like San Bruno, for God's sakes. Huge. And at the Black Angus Square Cow Fun Bar, too. Yeah, 2 shows at a steakhouse in Boise, Idaho. My career is on fire, ladies and gentlemen. I am going places. Kelso, Washington, that's where I was going. That was the first stop. I drove about 700 miles straight up to Kelso, Washington. And I was playing at a Red Lion Inn at their little lounge, and played several Red Lion Inns. Again, career's on fire. And I got there about 2 in the afternoon, and I like to go in and see the room and see what I've gotten myself into. And I knew at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that the show tonight at 8 o'clock was going to suck. I walked in and I looked at the room, and you can tell what the focus of the room is, because the bar is the whole center of the room, and then there's a few tables down each side here, and then a few tables here, and then there's a dance floor, which I like to call the joke moat, because jokes don't usually make it over the dance floor. They die out in the moat out there somewhere. And so I knew at that point that this is not going to be a good night right here. But you know what the hell, they're paying me, so I go up to get my room, I go take a nap, take a shower, come back down. And again, I like to be at the show a little bit early. I like to watch the crowd coming in. And as I'm heading down the hallway, and at the end of the hallway, there's nothing but this lounge is down there. So I know I'm, and I can hear this just bouncing, just driving hard beat music, just boom, 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 boom. And I'm walking down the hallway, and then 2 women walk by in a bikini, and then some guy walks by in board shorts. And normally that's not unusual in a hotel, except that this hotel doesn't have a pool, and it's January. So, like, what the hell is going on? And I'm boom, 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 boom. I'm still hearing that music as I'm walking down the hallway. I'm getting closer and closer. And when I get up to the door, the bouncer is actually in like a Speedo. And I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing. And what has happened is the local radio station has a theme night, and from 4 to 8 is their happy hour, and they have, it's beach night. And what they've done is they've come in during the day while I'm napping, and they have dropped 1,000 pounds of sand on the dance floor. They've built a grass shack hut, which is the DJ booth, and if you wear beach attire, you get in free, and Mai Tais are $1 between 4 and 8. Oh yeah, this is going to be way worse than I ever thought it was going to be before my nap. And so I walk up to the guy working the front door, and I'm sure he knew I was the comic, but I walked up and I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, I'm Dave, I'm the opening act." And I'm sure he knew I was the comic because I'm the only person in pants in the entire room. And he says, and I said, "Are you guys going to have some sort of like break in between this big raucous party you have going on and the comedy show where people are supposed to listen and chill?" And he said, "Oh yeah, we've got this under control. Don't worry. Go talk to the DJ over there." So I go over and make my way through and get to the DJ, and I said, "Hey, you guys are going to have some sort of a buffer, like in between the party and the comedy show, right? There's some sort of break." "Oh yeah, we do this all the time. I got it totally under control. Don't worry about anything." All right, so I go sit at the bar, grab a beer, and I'm waiting, and the other comic comes in, and I know he's the other comic. I've never met him before, but now there are 2 people wearing pants in the room, and he walks right up to me, and I'm going to shake your hand, just like we're meeting for the first time. His name is Dwight Slade, and he walks right up to me, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Dwight. I'm glad you're on first." Great, yeah, this is going to be great. And so, we're getting close to buffer time, and the DJ, there was a record. It was B-52's Love Shack was playing. Dance floor is packed. People are plowed drunk out of their mind, and I swear, he scratches the record. Like in any movie you've ever seen, you just rip. And everybody like stops, and he goes, "Okay, folks, we're going to start the comedy show." The entire room starts booing. Or I start booing. Boo! No, don't start the show. No. He said, "But before we start the show, we're going to have a hot tan and a hot legs contest. That's the buffer, okay? So he's got all these guys up here with their shirts, you know, they're pulling their shirts off and they're showing off their tans, and all these women are on this side and they're in their bikinis and they're showing their legs off, and he's going by, you know, on top of everybody's head, and people are cheering and hooting and hollering and throwing money on the stage. And now, Dave Picorni. I'm walking towards the stage, and I'm probably about as far as I am to you from the mic, and three guys right up front, they yell out, "You suck! Get off the stage!" And I look at him, I say, "You know what? I'm not even on the stage yet." I said, "Don't worry, I'm gonna suck. I just gotta go up there to do it." And I get up there, and the prophecy was right. I was sucking like nobody's business, man. It was bad. And, you know, my contract says I have to do 25 minutes in order to get paid, and I am just grasping at straws. I am trying to find some line of comedy that these people will latch onto, and I am going through the little Rolodex in my head. I have about 45 minutes of material that I can choose from at this point, and I am going through every little topic that I have, and I have hit, I'm in the Z's, I'm in the double Z's, I got nothing that these people want, and I look at my watch, I've been on stage 6 goddamn minutes. Oh my God. And the same three guys yell out, "Why don't you just get off the stage?" I said, "You know what? I would love to do that right now, but my contract says I have to do 25 minutes. And if I don't do 25 minutes, I don't get paid. And I guarantee you what, I'm not going to drive all the way up here, take this from you guys, and not get paid for it. So, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be up here 19 more minutes. I'm not going to do 20, I'm going to be up here 19 more minutes." And now at that point, I sort of clicked on automatic pilot. I have absolutely no idea what's coming out of my mouth, but in my head, I am plotting my revenge. Because sometimes I don't do the right thing. So I'm thinking, what can I do to these people? And all of a sudden, about 18 minutes has gone by. I look down at my watch and I say, "Folks, my time is just about up." They start to cheer. I go, "Okay, great, I get it." I said, "But I'm going to leave you with one joke because I feel you deserve that." And I started that joke tonight, the pancakes joke. And so I got their attention finally with this one joke. And I'm selling it. I'm like, they smacked him in the head, knocked him over, smack, kicks him like this, and turns to the other little kid and says, "And what do you want for breakfast?" And I looked at my watch and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, folks, my time is up." And I walked off stage and they were all like, "What's the punchline?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, 25 minutes, gotta go. Thanks, good night." And I walk off stage, and the other comic, as I walk back there, he's just laughing, and he walks by me on his way to the stage, and he goes, "You're an asshole." I said, "Yeah, I guess sometimes I am." And he gets up there, and the first thing he says, he goes, "You guys don't want to know the punchline? Because I know the punchline. You want to know the punchline?" And they said, "Yeah." He goes, "Be cool during my show, and I'll tell it to you." First storyteller that we have is, oh wait, I can't forget to bring my wine back with me, that would be bad. I'm going to just randomly pick this one. Okay, let's see who this is. And it's not going to be anybody that didn't sign up, just so you know. Or all of a sudden, "Hey, wait a minute, I didn't put my name in the hat." Sorry, that's the way it goes. First one up is going to be Amanda McTighe. Right before I bring Amanda up here, I just want to let you guys know, bookmarks. We have these bookmarks sitting all over. I have a bunch over here, and these tell you the themes for the rest of the months of the year. Whoever wins the show, the winner, gets put into the grand championship at the end of the year. So there's a big battle royal cage match at the end of the year. It's totally cool. Next month on October 1st, we have, September 3rd, I'm skipping a whole month, it's Affliction next month. So grab one of these, it'll let you know, and there's great stuff about our hosts right here. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please, with a big round of applause, can you welcome to the stage, Amanda McTighe.
Oh, Lord. Where's my warm-up? Don't you start that clock. Don't you start it. I'm going to tell you a mountain story. Some of y'all know that's where I'm from. Some of you may have heard this story, so there will be a pop quiz. My mom is from the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. The topic is do the right thing, but we don't say it like that in the mountains. My mama taught me to do. That's what you do. You are taught to do. That's how it works. So let's say you're lost in the mountains. How do you get out of there? You follow the water, right? There are people always at the bottom of a creek, yeah? You are going up the mountain, you better take some fruit in that pack. Why? Because if the bear shows up, the pack goes down, you back up. Once you've backed up, the bear's more interested in smelly fruit than you, and you can get on out of there. She taught me how to do. That's my mama. Now, she could be surprising on this. And right and wrong, I'm not so sure about things. I'm going to tell you about my brother Bruce. My brother Bruce was the good boy in the family. There are 4 kids. Good boy. He's in 7th grade. It's summer. And somehow he fell in with some older boys, and they ended up down in town in Black Mountain at the Bilo, which is where you buy the groceries and the gas. And somehow they bought some beer. And they got that beer in the trunk of the car, and they drove that beer up to our church-centered community right there at the lake, parked that car, popped that trunk open. There's the beer, and who is right behind them? But Detective, our Detective Bannerman is right behind him. Craig Bannerman, good family friend. He probably watched the whole thing from the Bilo, came up right behind him, right? Now, there are 5 boys. 4 of those boys froze. My brother Bruce ran right up that mountain. He took off, lickety-split up that mountain. And you know that Craig Bannerman was not behind him, because we all know that Craig carries a little too much weight on him. So he probably couldn't even walk up the mountain, much less run. But my brother Bruce is up. He's like a hound-bitten dog, a deer even, running up that mountain. In the mountains, you're either going up or you're going across. So he went up to the trestle, around to Graybeard, over to Big Brushy, Little Brushy, and down the backside to our house. And that's where I was. I was there with my brothers and my sister. My mama was in the kitchen. Daddy was in Washington making the money so that we could be in that damn house. Summer, so I'm sure at least some of us were snoozing, because that's what you do in the afternoon. And suddenly, bang! In the door comes my brother Bruce, and he's all sweaty, and he's breathing real hard, and my mama comes out of the kitchen. She takes one look at him, and she says, "Son, I want you to take a shower." And she hands him a towel. "I do not want you to shower in your shower. I want you to shower in my shower." Now, this had never happened in my family. There was a shower down and a shower up. She wanted him up on the floor we were on. She did not want him going back outside. So she handed him a towel. Back he went. She said, "Don't even think about coming out of there until I call you." Then she turns to us and she does this, right? This. Y'all know this. This is universal language. What does it mean? You shut your mouth. Don't you speak, don't you breathe, right? So we all hushed up, and we were thinking, oh, he's in trouble now, right? Nobody's napping now. 20 minutes later, knock on the door, here's Craig Bannerman. And he's holding his sheriff's hat in his hand, because this is back when people had manners and you don't wear your hat inside. He's standing in the door. He's a good friend of my mama. He's a good friend of the family. She invites him in. He says, "No, ma'am, not today." He says, "I have just come from down at the lake, and I found 5 underage boys down there with some beer in their car. And one of those boys got away. And there is a rumor that that boy who got away is Bruce McTighe. Our name is McTighe." Well, we kids are thinking, "Oh, here he's going to jail." Mama says to Craig Bannerman, "Now, Craig, you cannot be talking about my Bruce, because he has been here all afternoon with me. He's been in the garden. In fact, would you like to take some beans with you when you go home?" And she's got, a bowl of beans with her. And he says, "No, we've got plenty of beans." And they kind of look eye to eye. And he says to her, "Well, those boys might be wrong about who it was that ran up the mountain, but I tell you what, you might want to sit with your children and talk to them about right and wrong and crossing the law." And they smile at each other, and off he goes. He drives his truck on down the mountain. We listen till we can't hear it no more. And then Mama is calling my brother out. And out he comes. He's got the wet hair. He's got the clothes she gave him on. And he looks like, Lord, help me, I'm in trouble now. And we're thinking, ooh, he's in trouble now. You know, kids can kind of enjoy this. Mama calls him over. Bruce, where were you? At the lake. What did you do? Ran up the mountain, across the trestle, and came down. Did you come home, son? Yes, ma'am, because of course this is when people had manners. Yes, ma'am, he says. She turns him around to face us, and she says, finally, a child with some sense and the 2 ears that God gave him. What has your mother told you your whole life? You get in trouble, you come home. You get in trouble, you come home to your mama. I don't care who is behind you. I don't care if it's the law. You come home to your mama. Good boy. And I tell you what, you know, she was a tough lady, but tough mamas get a bad rap these days. There is nothing, I have thought about this so often, there is nothing like hearing somebody say, I do not care what it is, I've got your back. I have got your back, whether it's a bear or the police. I will lie, I will cheat, I will do wrong to do right by you. That was love in my family. And that's how my mama taught us to do.
Amen to the tide, ladies and gentlemen. Amanda, pick a number between 1 and 10 for storyteller number 2. 10. 10. It's going to be this one right here. It's not prime, you're correct. Nicely done, mathematician. Let's see what we got here. Leslie Scatcherd. Doesn't have to go very far. There she is right there. Ladies and gentlemen, before we bring Leslie up, I have a couple of little things that I'd like to make announcements quickly. This lovely facility that we are in, and we've been in for about 2 years now, how about a huge round of applause for having us in here for Karen and Bill. Thank you guys for housing this bunch of degenerates once a month. And if you guys have not come down here to do port tasting, 12 to 5 on, is it Tuesday through?
Thursday through Monday.
I never get it right. I swear to God. Yeah, I just sit at home and drink your port. That's all right. Yeah. All right. So if you have not done that, you've got to do that, or maybe you might get a little taste over there before the night's over. And before I bring Leslie right up here, a couple of these things. Now, those of you that have not been here before, I'm just going to tell you, these are totally anonymous, and I read through them over there just to make sure that I can read them, because some of them are chicken scratchy, you know, and I can't see a darn thing. So, what were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? There were so many things just today, I can't remember which was the last. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? Mayhem ensued. And what were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I didn't put enough oil in my car, so now I'm shopping for another car. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Leslie Scatcherd.
Oh, the thrill of it all. At 20, I was the first girl in my group to be planning my wedding. That's right. I had found an older man, 29 to my 20, and his vast world experience was so dazzling to me that of course I said yes when he asked me to marry him. I mean, it was so romantic. There were wedding dresses to try on, and there were china patterns to pick out, and vows to write. I was so thrilled. I was willing to change colleges, move 200 miles, change my major, ditch roommates, all to become a Mrs. Oh yeah. So the date starts getting closer and closer. And I start feeling this knot building in the pit of my stomach. I think it started when we went out to look for apartments to rent. And I realized what we could afford. They were dingy and small and dank. And then I started looking at this guy, and I realized I can't be 100% myself with him. So how in the world are we going to coexist in this tiny apartment, right? That didn't seem good. And then I thought, can this guy hold down a job? He'd had 3 jobs in the time that I knew him. So I was starting to have some reservations, which quickly grew into full-on panic. But there was this box of invitations on the floor in the dining room that were already addressed and were ready to send out. My dress was hanging in the closet. My bridesmaids had already had their final fitting. My parents had hundreds of dollars out there in deposits on halls and caterers and florists. This train was hurtling down the tracks, and there was no way to stop this. So I just figured I would just marry him, and then in an appropriate amount of time, we would just get divorced. That was my reasoning at 20. Great, really. I couldn't tell my mother. I was so afraid of disappointing her, and the look in her eyes when I would tell her that I couldn't get married, I just couldn't do it. We were really close. So one day, my mother and I are sitting in the den. It's 1 month before the wedding. My mom and I used to do this every day, like every day since I can ever remember. We would sit in the den. She would sit in her chair and I would sit on the couch. And we would debrief on what had happened to us that day. It was a lovely, lovely thing to do. So this day we're sitting there and we're chit-chatting, not talking about the wedding. And out of the complete blue, my mother says to me, you know, if you didn't want to get married, you know you don't have to, right? I gaped at her. I was trying to read her face. Was she kidding? But all I saw looking back at me was just openness and candor. And I burst into tears. And I said, oh my God, I don't want to get married. And all she said was, no problem. And my mother quietly went about canceling the entire event. There was never any mention of the money they lost, of the inconvenience of it all, embarrassment. There was no shame. There was no judgment. The wisdom and grace that my mother showed me during that time has stuck with me my entire life. And I have to say, that was probably the single most loving gift that anyone has ever given me.
That's the sketch, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. How about not picking yours, because I folded the other way, but number between 1 and 9 for storyteller number 3.
3.
3. There you go.
That's right.
Thank you. 2, 3. There you go. She goes to Tech High. Elaine Silver is our next storyteller right there. Elaine will be up here in just a sec. There. Also, how about a quick round of applause? Thank you for PCA, Petaluma Community Access Television. That'll be broadcast at some point, and you'll get to see yourself and all the other folks, and the back of your own head, if you'd like to take a peek. That's always good. Let's see. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I listened to a secret. that wasn't supposed to be told, and all hell broke loose when I forgot my promise to keep it. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I got pregnant. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Elaine Silver. Here she is.
So the family I grew up in was lower middle class, aka poor. This was in Brooklyn in the 60s, and my father was a motorman. He drove subway cars for the city. And, you know, we had a place to live, and we had food to eat, and clothes to wear. And I really would love to stand here and say, and you know, we didn't even know we were poor. But it's not true. We didn't have a lot of stuff that maybe normal people had. Like, we didn't have enough chairs. In the living room, there was a couch, 2 chairs, and a television set. There were 3 children, me, my brother, and my sister. And you couldn't see the television from the couch. So the option was that after dinner, you made a beeline for the living room to claim your chair, because otherwise you had to sit on the floor and get kicked by your siblings. And just note that the living room was literally like 2 steps away from the kitchen. So, and you had to make sure you went to the bathroom before you ate, because once you sat, the rule was once you sat in the chair, that was yours until you got up. So if you went to the bathroom, you were sunk, and you could not watch Gilligan's Island sitting in the chair. Buy another chair. My mother, who was really the most horrendous cook in the whole world, had a very, very organized system of feeding us. Every night, it was this, you know, she had a different meal every night. It was always the same night of the week. So Monday night was meatloaf. Wednesday night was fish. Friday night was roast chicken. And Saturday night was pizza from the pizza place 2 blocks down, which was great. And we would eagerly look forward to the Saturday night meal. Only there were 3 children and 8 slices of pizza. And thinking about it, I couldn't figure out, my parents never ate the pizza, it was just us. All right, so we each had 2 slices, and then we had to wait for my mother to kind of measure and cut so that each of us got exactly the same amount of pizza for the last portion. And literally, I was thinking about this, and I'm embarrassed to tell you, only recently, I thought to myself, why didn't they just buy another slice? What was up with that? Why was there World War III when someone felt slighted that their pizza was slightly less than his or her sibling? Buy another slice. Now, New York in the summers, I don't know if those of you from the East Coast know, it's like, forget about global warming. We've had global warming forever. 90 degrees, 3 o'clock in the morning, horrible. And no air conditioning. Anybody know when air conditioning was invented? Because we didn't have it. I didn't even know anyone who had it. You couldn't breathe. It was so oppressive, humid. We would lie in bed like, you could hear little voices. We couldn't sleep. And the only relief was a fan. Now, my brother's room and the room that I shared with my sister were right next door to each other, and the doors were actually together. So here's my brother's room, here's our room. We had 1 fan, and it would be placed, I guess diplomatically, I don't even know how they decided to place it in between the 2 rooms, and nobody got any relief. No, I don't know. My parents actually were very wonderful people. Don't get me wrong. But they had a thing. I don't know what it was. This kind of, just residual horribleness from the depression or something that was playing out in their lives. I don't know. But for God's sakes, people, get 2 more fans and do the right thing.
Elaine Silver, ladies and gentlemen. Two more fans and a slice.
And a chest.
Is that it? All right, Elaine, I gotta grab the things here. How about a number between 1 and 8?
7. That's right.
Wow, that is probably, you're good. My kid. Ladies and gentlemen, Jean Knapp is going to be our next storyteller. Should be right up. Before we do that, just going to let you guys know, we have a Facebook page. That'd be great if you went over there and hit a little like on that. I think we have 328 likes. Is that a lot? I don't know. Is it good? Okay. I would like more. So I'm totally effing greedy. So was there 80 people here? I should have 400 likes by tomorrow. All right? So there you go. WestSide Stories, just hit the little like. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to hang out there. You don't have to look at all the cool stuff that I put on there. You don't have to do that. You know, you'd be stupid not to. That's right. Let's see. We also have a website, WestSideStoriesPetaluma.com, so you can check that out. I usually update that within the next couple of days after the show with pictures from the show, from this show, and stuff like that, and trying to do a little more on that. So you can take a peek there, and let's see what else we got going. Twitter. This last month I started doing Twitter. I have no idea what I'm doing. So, yeah, well, I know I'm tweeting. Yeah, that much I do know. But, you know, I'm just putting stuff out there, and sometimes somebody will send it somewhere else, and, you know, then I got a follower, and I have no idea what's going on there, but I'm tweeting, for God's sake. By next month, I'm going to Instagram something. I'm gonna go completely crazy, and I am going to Instagram a picture or something, and it's going to be out there. Damn it. Let's see. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? Became trapped in a car wash. I totally want to hear that story. I hope that was the next storyteller right there, Jean. Maybe that was you, I hope. If not, I'm sure it'll be something else fabulous. Maybe it'll be this one. My wife's cashmere sweater came out of the dryer the size that it would fit an American Girl doll. No good. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Jean Knapp. Here she is.
I dragged a chair very quietly across the kitchen floor. I pulled it to the refrigerator. I climbed up on the chair and I opened the freezer. Yes, there was still ice cream. And in our family, there was never a consensus of 6 people on what kind of ice cream to buy. So we bought Neapolitan. So there's chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Now my father liked strawberry. My mother and my brothers and sisters, they liked chocolate. I liked vanilla. So I had my spoon and I dug into the ice cream in the vanilla and ate 3 or 4 big tablespoons. And I looked around to make sure no one was noticing. I closed the refrigerator and the freezer. I got off the chair, and as I stepped down, I ripped my shirt. And I thought, oh, but it was just my brother's hand-me-downs, which I normally wore, so it didn't matter. So I just quietly dragged the chair back to the kitchen table. And then, as if nothing had happened, I walked into the living room. And my mother said, "Did you have ice cream, Jean?" And I said, "No." I wasn't supposed to have ice cream that night because I didn't eat the beets. I didn't like beets. And so I was not allowed to have dessert. I went over, sat on the couch, and I waited. Nobody said anything. But I started to feel terrible inside. Just terrible. And I couldn't bear the weight of this lie. I mean, the lie, eating ice cream was one thing, but lying about it was just awful, and I couldn't bear it. And I sat there fidgeting, and I started to get teary, and then I started to cry, and I ran across the room to my mother's lap, threw my head on her lap, and sobbed. And I said, I lied, Mother. And she said, I know. And she stroked my hair. And she said, you suffered enough for this lie. That's all the punishment that you need. Sometimes those decisions are fairly straightforward. Lying, I learned early, doesn't work. For one thing, I'm a lousy liar. So I'm not going to do that. And I suffer too much inside. It ain't worth it. But there are other times when it's not so clear. At the end of first grade, we had a performance. And I was 7, I remember. And we had a dance that we had practiced. And all the little first graders were gathered together on the stage. It was our turn in this elementary school. The teacher was out in the audience because we were to do this all by ourselves. So we get in the formation we're supposed to be in because it's a circle dance. And the pianist starts, and I realize people are in the wrong places. Well, I had sort of helped the teacher organize this. So I knew exactly where everyone should be. And so I just stopped. I was wearing, very uncharacteristically, my mother must have forced me into this, a pink organdy dress starched out to here, so I could not even put my arms at my sides. Instead of the braids that were coming apart, I had a ponytail on the top of my head with a huge pink ribbon. And I just stood there. And then I went over to the pianist and I said, stop. And the pianist stopped. And I went back and I started to put my classmates in the right positions. And I was moving them around when all of a sudden I realized there was nothing but laughter behind me. The whole auditorium was laughing. And I stopped and I turned around and I walked a couple steps forward, and I saw that they were all laughing, and they were laughing at me. I didn't know what to do. It was a whole auditorium full of laughter. And I looked and I found my family, and they were all laughing too. Except one face. One face in the whole auditorium, and it was my brother. And we connected across that huge space from the stage out into the audience. And he wasn't laughing. And he just looked at me, and he nodded, and he smiled. And I thought, I'm okay. And I turned around, went back, put the children back into the places they should be, told the pianist, okay, you can start now. We started the dance, and it went off perfectly.
Gene, how about a number between 1 and 7 is what I have left there? 4. Not prime. I was just letting you know that I need that. That's actually my wife, Juliette Picorni, is that one right there. She's got a story to tell. And I have a couple of these. This one here, it's pretty long, which is great. That's fine. It fits on the page. But then there's like an arrow from another part where I have to go up. So bear with me here. I have to read, and then I got to go up. So bear with me. Right. As a baby, I turned out to be too cute. My older sister, whose nickname was Princess, and this is the arrow, and who had some jealous management issues, shoved me in my stroller into the rose bushes where I have scars on my arms to this day. So if we're anyone wearing long sleeves, there.
Quick question. How is that person doing anything wrong?
I don't know. Yeah. I guess, yeah, that would be it. They're just born too cute. Maybe it was the other one that did the wrong thing. I don't know. I don't judge. I just read. Yeah, but I chose to do this differently. I make the rules. Sorry. Yeah. You can start your own show if you want, everybody. Got no market cornered here. We're all good, but this is the way we're going tonight. If it's okay with the rest of y'all, I'm going to keep moving forward. Just checking. All right, cool. What were the results the last time you did the right thing, but the opposite? I got busted by the feds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our stage Juliet Picorni. There she is.
Okay, so I come from a lineage of great hostesses. My grandmother, who passed away in the last 5 years, was the matriarch for, she was well into her 90s. She was like the best party thrower ever. Okay, now you have the only daughter she had. She had a daughter and 2 sons. My mother, incredibly smart, like science, engineering, but she because she was so smart, she sort of got sort of the basics, the to-dos, right? Because my grandmother was one of those people that had everything filed and everything was labeled. And as you know, me, if you know me, that my business, my livelihood has been managing and organizing people my entire career. So I've obviously absorbed, right? It was everywhere you went in her house, so everything was beautifully labeled and organized, and her parties went flawlessly. Well, my birthday landed on Labor Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend. My oldest lands on Labor Day. So Memorial Day weekend. So I remember starting as early as 5 years old. My mother, you know, again, by the numbers, like had the party favors, invited all the people, like had everything out, bought the cake, and she was a single mom of 4 kids. She didn't have a whole lot of money. And of course, Memorial Day weekend, guess what? Nobody's around, right? And so she would throw, I can vividly remember my 5th birthday, and it was like me, my 3 siblings, and my mother saying, oh my God, I spent all this money on these party favors and the cake, and nobody's coming, like, what's going on? Like, it's my fault, right? And I'm like, well, you know, like, I don't know, it doesn't feel so great for me either, actually. Like, nobody's here. And so we would, like, call up the neighborhood friends, right, to show up. So, you know, you cut from 5 years old all the way through into my high school years. Like, I sort of got the gist. Like, you're not throwing a party on Memorial Day weekend for your birthday and expecting a bunch of people to show up. So I sort of got it. But again, right, my mother being sort of a science and engineering person, sort of by the numbers, right? Like every year it was like, she just didn't, like that sort of other idea, like sort of the nuances, like she just didn't get it, you know? And then there's my grandmother. Every year, remember, she's throwing like crazy, fantastic parties that people talk about as legendary still. You know, she's passed away and they're still talking about it. And so there I am. It's my high school 18th birthday. I have befriended a couple, you know, musician guys in high school, and we were like best friends, and they invite me over to their house to like listen to them play. And I don't actually put it all together because I've actually sort of blocked out like it means anything to have my birthday on Memorial Day weekend. So I sort of show up and they're like, hey, you know, it's like 5 guys, right? And only 2 of them I actually know, right? And so they're like, hey, you want some burgers? I'm like, sure. They come out with like a platter of like 50 burgers, right? They're like, let's, you know, put up the barbecue. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of burgers for the 6 of us. And they're like, no, that's cool. They're like, do you want some, you know, potato salad? I'm like, sure. And they're like this ginormous thing of potato salad. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And finally my friend Mike. So my mother has decided to throw me a surprise party, but she's given it the responsibility to my 18-year-old friend Mike, who's a musician, right? Mike is a great guy, but like, you know, he's probably thought like 2 days before, like, I'll just throw it together, how hard it can be. And it's like, well, it's Memorial Day weekend, like nobody's here, right? You like really have to plan in advance. So he's like, oh man, I feel so bad. Like your mom asked me to do this like 2 months ago, and you know, I just thought everybody'd be around, and no, he's around on Memorial Day weekend. I'm like, oh, it's okay. So he comes out with like this enormous sheet cake, you know, wishing me a happy birthday. So me and the 6 guys are eating like all this like giant bowls of potato chips, and we're like, what are we gonna do? You know, because she just, you know, there's this thing that's like, unlike my grandmother who would have like finessed it, right? Like she would have figured it out. She would have done something. But my mom is like by the book, right? And she has so much anxiety about like having a bad party because she's like underneath my grandmother. So I'm like, oh my God, my mom will die if she knows not a soul has shown up for this party. So we decide, like on a whim, to gather all of our money and we go to the mall. And we just start buying gifts, right? We like buy all these gifts. And we like make up stories as we go like, oh yeah, so-and-so is at the party, right? And then like we both love like hippopotamuses. So that's why she got me the hippopotamus, because like our thing, right? Like, okay, we're on that one, right? So Mike and I like dump out all the food, we hand it out to everybody we can find. So there's only a little bit left of everything. Like the cake was the hardest thing because it was huge. So we're like a little bit of cake left, you know, and so we come home and my mom, you know, she's so like her intentions are so good, right? And so I'm like, she's like, well, how was it? And we're like, oh, we hardly have any food left. I mean, so many people. And she's like, really? And I'm like, oh, it was so much fun. What a surprise. What a surprise, right, Mike? And he's like, oh yeah, it was a surprise, all right. And we're like, and we like bags of like, oh, and I got all these gifts, and we're like telling fake stories, right? Like about, and he and I, like, we're like best friends, and so to us, this is like hilarious. Like, we're like riffing off each other, like, yeah, remember why I got the poster? Because so-and-so, you know, we're like making stuff up. She loves it, right? She's like eating it up. So for years, I'm saying 30 years, we would be in family gatherings, and somebody would say something about a surprise party. I'm like, yeah, I never really had a surprise party. She goes, no, your 18th birthday, remember? I'm like, right. Yeah, that's right, that was good. That was really good. And so like 30 years later, we're all sitting around having a cup of coffee. And, you know, we're all just telling, like, hey, remember that time that such and such? I'm like, yeah, actually, that didn't really happen. We're, like confessing, right? 30 years have gone by. Like, yeah, I got one. We're all having coffee. I'm like, remember that time you threw that surprise party? And she's like, that was great. Listen, I'm like, you know what? Like, nobody showed up. And she's like, what? Like, she's heartbroken. 30 years she's heartbroken. And I thought, like, showing her that I'd done the right thing, right? Like, by making her feel good. No, like she was pissed. So sometimes, you know, you don't have to tell people you did the right thing, right? You just need to keep it to yourself.
There you go. I know that story really well, and I was drinking coffee that day, and yeah, her mom was not happy. I don't think she's over it still, honestly. Hey, Juliet, how about a number between 1 and 6?
I'll take 1.
1?
That's correct.
Is it? All right, cool.
On behalf of Brian.
All right, let's see who we got. We have David, I think it's Selzer. Is that a Z?
Yes.
Yes, David Selzer. There he is. In just a sec, we'll have him come on up. But in the meantime, oh my goodness, how about this? What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? My wonderful daughter and my current poverty. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I married her. There you go. I'm sure she's not here. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our stage David Selzer. You can do whatever you like. It's your 5 minutes, buddy.
Okay, my 5 minutes. There we go. So this is my first time up here, and I sort of challenged myself to do this. So I'm doing the right thing for myself. thanks. In fact, I came in here and I sat down and I noticed I was sitting next to a guy who comes up here quite a bit, and I said, "You know, I've got these notes on my hand." He says, "Is that okay?" And he said, "Do you know what tonight's theme is?" I'm going to do the right thing, so I'm not going to lie. This week I've been listening to a books on tape for a book called Ghana Must Go. And I was in the Peace Corps in Ghana, and listening to this tape, all these memories have been flooding back, all these stories of things that happened to me. And I think that's why I got the courage to stand up here, because I got something to say. I got remembering some of these things that some were sad, some were hilarious, some were embarrassing. A lot of them were embarrassing. The embarrassing one, the first one that comes to mind is this whole business. Some of you may know that it's not okay to hand things with your left hand. It's only the right hand. You can only give things with the right hand. Left hand, no. Right hand, yes. Do the right thing. That's how I thought it would work. And I remember how it was quite well known, this story, that it was told in Peace Corps training about this woman or guy, I can't remember which, was his teacher, who had was a wonderful teacher, by the way, and lots of class participation, and she did a math problem on the board with the right hand, by the way, and then she called somebody to come up to the board and do the next one, and the kid raised his hand, came on up, and she handed him the chalk with her left hand, and the whole class went silent, and because they all thought he was being insulted, and that she was really mad at him. And so she lost a little bit of respect for her students there, but I'm sure she gained it back. Another one was I met this, when I was in the capital city of Accra, I met this beautiful Swedish girl who was we call them worldwide travelers. And the deal in the Peace Corps is worldwide travelers can come and stay at your house. They just have to pay $1, and they can stay with you a night. And of course, it was great if she would come and stay with me, so I offered. Well, a couple of months later, she shows up at my door, and came in and showed her where she would be staying. Said, "Well, what do you do here in the afternoon?" Says, "Well, there's only one thing to do. You go dancing." So, and what you do is you listen, and you hear the drums. There's drums far away, there's drums close, wherever it is. So you listen to the drums, you get your dancing cloth, and which is just a cloth you put around your waist, and go to the dance. It's a great thing to do. It's like aerobics and culture all together. So she was kind of a feisty person, and we watched for a while. I think we even danced for a bit. And she said to me, "I'm going to do something that it's going to cause a commotion." And well, actually, she didn't say commotion, but she said, "Watch this." And said, "Watch this." And she took out a cigarette. Now, in Ghana, everybody smokes. Men smoke, women smoke. But women don't smoke outside. They only smoke in the home. It's a wrong thing to do. So there's 200 people. And they're drumming and dancing and celebrating and drinking. And she lights up that cigarette. Now, do you remember those ads on television that E.F. Hutton had? Yes. And it says, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens, and then all of a sudden, everybody's quiet, and they all look at this person who's from E.F. Hutton. Well, she was from E.F. Hutton, and they all stopped. They all looked at her. And they all, but it was just quiet. There was no bad, there was no good. It was just that. The last thing was my introduction to Ghana was this. I was in the back of a truck going to Market Day, and people were getting on the truck with me and loading their things. It was actually a van, loading their loads on the top. This woman comes up to me, or up to the truck, and it's her. I'm face to face with her. She has a 20-foot long stack of sticks on her head. She is going to lift it up on top so that it can be stored up there. I look at her in the face, and totally unexpected, I expected to see this poor woman sweltering and unhappy. And I saw the exact opposite. She was joyful and happy and full of excitement about the day. That's when I knew I was in Ghana and I was going to have a good time.
David Southern, ladies and gentlemen, David. Storyteller number 7. How about a number between 1 and 5, David?
3.
3. Really? Came to the obvious. Good. Let's see. That is Tony. I think it's Snapes. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
That is right? Okay, great. Tony will be our next storyteller right there. And before we bring Tony up here, let's see. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? Exhausted from travel. I inserted my motel card key in the door next to my own room. A woman screamed. It was 2 a.m. I quickly mumbled sorry and retreated sheepishly and in for my life into my correct abode. Wow. And then we have, what were the results last time you did the wrong thing? An 8-pound, 8-ounce baby boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to one more time take a look. Sorry, because you are a new one. Tony Snapes, ladies and gentlemen. How about one more time?
Many moons ago when I was back in the UK, I was working at a business school. I used to teach there. We did MBAs, we did human resource management courses and the like. And we were all pretty entrepreneurial, as you would expect from a business school, getting out there, doing all sorts of things. And of course, we loved consultancy for all sorts of reasons, not just financial. And in the summer, we used to pitch for various contracts. We were off in the summer. And 2 or 3 of us got this contract for a consultancy project. It was a subcontract, and it was for the Algerian oil company called Sonatrach in Algeria. And it was for French speakers. I spoke French. My wife at the time was French. She still is French. She's not my wife, but she's still French. Anyway, so off we go to Algeria, and we fly in, and they take us to the hotel, which is one of these fairly modern but run-down hotels in a place called Arziou, full of people who are working for the oil industry. So we get chatting, and we prepare the course for a day or so. Interesting mob, these people who work for oil. They fly in, they go to the hotel, they fly into the desert, they work in the compound, they come back after 3 weeks, they stay in the hotel, they go home. So I get chatting to people and say, you've been all over the world, haven't you? And they say, yeah, Peru, da-da-da-da. And I say, you must have seen a lot. And they say, no, we just fly in, we go to the hotel, we go to the site, come back. So it gives me a sense of what oil industry is like. But anyway, we get the course together, and then we go off to where we're going to do it. And it's an old French fort in Arziou. And the ironic thing about it all is that my wife's brother was, when he was doing his military service, he was stationed in that fort. He was in the Navy during the Algerian War. And it was kind of a creepy place. Big adobe, very well insulated. So great for a course. I don't know whether you know about the Algerian War in the late 60s the late 50s to the early 60s, but it was a particularly bloody war. It was the first really urban war where they bombed civilians. The French developed all sorts of techniques, counter-terrorism techniques, waterboarding amongst other things, The CIA learnt a lot from them, and they still show a film called The Battle of Algiers, which is a semi-documentary French film, I think in the light evenings when they're not training them in other things. So there we were, in this place full of memories and associations. And of course went well. We did our management training bit, and one of the things we came to realise was they didn't really need management training. They got plenty of PhDs and other folk. What they really needed, and this is true in many developing countries, was technicians in the middle, the plumbers, the electricians, the guys who could work the refineries. Because what happens is they put on all this equipment, it runs for a while, then it breaks down, and nobody's got the day-to-day skills to keep it working. So it's all working at 50%, 20%, then it stops. So the desert is full of rusting refineries until the Japanese come in or the Russians come in and build another one. So we run the course, and they're very nice people. Ooh, also very egalitarian. They're all wearing uniforms called dungaree type things, the men and the women. And there's a high proportion of women there, which is unusual given the nature of the country. But of course, outside they have to wear something completely different. They're all in purdah. But the way in which they differentiate themselves was their shoes. So you would see all these different kinds of shoes. You know, red ones, black ones, high, low, the whole works. Very interesting, spotting women through their shoes, which is quite a sport. Well, in the evenings, not much to do, so we go to the houses of some of the expatriates who tend to have access to booze, which is a bit difficult to find there. And we drink beer and we have a lot of aquavit. For some reason they seem to like aquavit. I don't know whether you've had that. Danish stuff. So you drink cold beer, a shot of aquavit. Pretty much a killer. So that's the way most of the evenings go. Anyway, as we get towards the end of the course, we decide last night, when everybody's shaking hands, gone, we'll have a few drinks and we'll go out to this well-known pizza restaurant. Yes, in the middle of the desert, there was a pizza restaurant. So we go out to the pizza restaurant. Of course, we have a few drinks, so we go into the Land Rovers or the Jeeps or whatever. We're weaving along. Nobody's worried about drink driving out there. We know we're all Europeans anyway, so nobody's going to stop us. Sounds a bit tricky, but that's true. So we go through these idyllic villages, nice white buildings. The dogs are barking, the donkeys are braying. I don't know whether you've ever been to these sorts of villages or towns. There's always noise going on. There's storks on top of the roof doing their thing. The imam is calling the faithful to prayers. The sun is setting, it's glorious. So we continue weaving on to the desert. It starts to get dark and the stars come out, the moon's great. And we come to this place, which we've actually been there before, way out in the desert. White adobe building with a flat roof and stairs. So we go upstairs and we sit down, there are about 20 of us, and we all start eating. And we eat a lot. And suddenly this friend of mine, Dave, says, I'm feeling terrible. And I said, well, you're going to be sick, Dave. And he says, yeah, I think. Well, go to the parapet. The parapet is about this high. Oh, no. So he goes to the parapet and he leans over. And as he does so, his pants drop down. And everybody goes, wow! But the worst thing was, he wasn't wearing any underwear, which was awful. And as he comes staggering back, somewhat embarrassed, the thought went through my mind. My mother said to me, do the right thing. Never go out without a clean pair of underwear. You never know what's going to happen.
There you go. Tony, how about a number between 1 and 4?
2.
2. 2. That is going to be Lance. Do I say it Cerny or Cherney, Lance? Cerny. There he is right there. Lance will be our next storyteller. And right before we bring Lance up here, let's see. This one right here, and you know, they're all supposed to be true stories, but this right here, I'm having a hard time believing right here. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I never did the wrong thing. All right. This one here, well, results last time you did the wrong thing. I put a wealthy, sheltered kid in a cab to the airport, thinking surely he has enough money and sense to get there. Turns out he had spent all his cash on clothes, and the cool Rasta dude driving the cab left him on the side of the road near the San Diego airport. I have gained 2 mortal enemies, the kid thought, war and adventure. That's almost a whole story right there. That was good. And what the heck, one more, we got him. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? The usual, I got caught. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lance Cearney.
So the family I grew up with seemed like it was all male. We lived way out in the country. This was at the very end of World War II, outside of Chicago, and it was mostly ruined buildings or ruined farms or abandoned ventures or whatever. And it was, kind of desolate. But my brother and I loved it because there's plenty of stuff to do and all kinds of adventure and that kind of stuff. And things were just fine until the 7th grade. In the 7th grade, I first of all discovered girls. They were a whole different kind of person than the ones I had grown up in. They were fascinating. And secondly, my parents shipped me off to this remote prep school in the mountains of western Massachusetts. This was not involving discussion. I just went. And when I got there with this interesting girls, I discovered it was an all-boys school, and it was way up in the woods, and you couldn't leave the school. Well, I toughed it out there for 2.5 years. Then I went to another school. It was not that far away. And again, it was all boys. By this time, I thought, I gotta deal with this. Enough is enough. So I put my mind to it, and I joined all these different clubs, the bird watching club and all these different things I thought might involve girls. It was a loose association. But I was desperate, and it was all boys, and there were no girls around. And then I discovered the school band. So I went to the band director and asked him what he needed, and he needed a cymbals player. So I said, I can do cymbals. I knew nothing about cymbals and nothing about music, but I was determined, because sooner or later, this band was going to play for some girls. So I tried to learn the cymbals, but you can't practice cymbals by yourself. It's all a matter of timing. And all I had was determination, kind of like a salmon going upstream. But I had no practice. So the other guys around me in that section of the band would try and help me. But I was very much a beginner. So I kind of crashed through the winter at these various practices. And finally, we had a band recital with a neighboring school. And there were girls there. This was very exciting. So, and all kinds of girls, mothers and aunts and sisters and cousins and girlfriends. And, the place was a feast. So the two, their school and our school, practiced together in the morning. And the key song, the most exciting part of this recital was some beautiful formal piece of music that had a big crescendo, and it came to a stopping point, and there were 2 beats of nothing, and then I would strike the cymbals twice, and then 2 beats of nothing, and then the concert would go on. I got it. I did poorly. But I was determined to get this right, and I had my friends helping me. They were giving me timing cues and that kind of thing. And I thought, this is my chance. So we're up in this raised platform, this huge auditorium full of all these people, some of whom were girls. And the song started up, and everybody played really well, and it came to the crescendo. And I was determined to do this with the best of my ability. So it came time for me to strike the cymbals. I held them as far apart as possible, and I slammed them together, and they went flop. They formed a perfect vacuum. And there was no noise. And they stuck together. And the whole room was in silence. So I'm wrestling these things. I'm knocking over music stands, other musicians, instruments, and finally one of the cymbals breaks away. They're big things. And leaps off the stage, and bounces down the aisle, and I go after it and get it. Well, by the time I get back, the song is over. I missed my second chance, and there were no girls.
Thanks, Sammy, ladies and gentlemen. One more time for Lance. Lance, how about a 1, 2, or a 3? 3.
A prime 3.
Prime 3. Nicely done, sir. That's going to be Melinda. There you go. Melinda Monroe. Before she comes up, we will take a look right here and a couple more of these. What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I got assigned to the committee. You want to clue us all in on what that was so we can stay off that committee? What were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? My sister took the punishment. Nicely done. Nicely done. And what were the results the last time you did the wrong thing? I got sent to the middle of nowhere for 2 months lugging around 70 pounds of gear. I assume that's in the military somewhere. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a huge round of applause for Melinda Monroe.
Fate was kind this month. I know how to work a mic stand. I'm an audio professional. I was sitting in the Monsignor's office trying not to sweat. And I had made the mistake of wearing my running clothes. And when I get nervous, I perspire and I can smell the odor of a runner. When I'm really, really upset, I tear at my cuticles and they bleed. And right now, in this moment, I'm deciding I am not well enough for this meeting. Directly behind me, the ghost of the victim is leaning against the door jamb. I don't know the Monsignor that well. This is a new priest for me, but I do know that he seems like a good guy. He's kind, he's funny, and I'm pretty sure he's going to help me out and do the right thing. And I also know that I'm a really lousy judge of character. But I need him to do the right thing, because if he doesn't do the right thing, I have to get back in my car and I have to drive to the school and I have to talk to a priest I've never met before and I have to look him in the eye and I have to say, you have spent your last day working with children and you need to leave right now. Go pack your bag. And in a way, I want to be the one that confronts this priest, because I want to say the name of the victim and I want to look at his face and I want to see the guilt pass in front of him before he has time to hide it. And I want to tell him what he did to this man and how he damaged his life. Not just by molesting him when he was a kid, but by denying it and staying in that family for 40 years. 40 years of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter being the honored guest, walking in that front door like Jesus Christ when the victim ran out the back. But what if I'm wrong? So in the room with the Monsignor, I tell him the name of the priest and I tell him the accusation. And I see several emotions pass on the face of this kind man. I see disbelief, sadness, anger, and I see something really complicated that I interpret as, Linda, you're not Catholic. You don't know.
you're an outsider. And I realized, this isn't going to work. He's a priest. He's going to cover up for this other priest. And they're just going to say I'm crazy. And you know what? That's pretty close to the truth. The Monsignor says to me, I know this priest. And I start to cry. And I feel the ghost of the victim come in and sit in the chair next to me. And the Monsignor says, I know this man. He's been a friend of mine for 30 years, and he would never harm a child. And I start to shake. And I feel the ghost put his hand on my arm and say, shh, it's okay. And the Monsignor says, he is a prayerful man. The Monsignor looks me in the eye and he says, Father Gary Timmons was the most prayerful man I had ever known. And I want to throw up. Father Gary Timmons was a good man and a damn good priest. And he was a friend of mine. And the ghost puts his hand on my arm and says, shh, listen. The Monsignor says, Father Gary Timmons went to prison for molesting children. And he sits back in his chair and says, Father Gary taught me that I don't know anything. A small smile comes on his face, and he says, I've learned that I don't have any judgment in these matters, so. He reaches to the bookshelf behind him and he says, I've got a binder for this. And he takes this binder, he lays it out on his desk, and he opens it up to the first page and runs his finger down it and says, this tells me what to do. I'm supposed to call the police. And he does. And then I'm supposed to call Child Protective Services. And he does. He looks down and he says, then I'm supposed to call Julie. And Julie is in charge of child safety for the diocese. And Julie will look this priest in the eye and she'll decide if he's guilty and she'll know what to do. I leave the office, I go for a run up the mountain, and the ghost goes with me. And I say, I don't know if I did the right thing. That felt awful. They're just going to cover it up. He'll still be in that school. And the ghost says, shh, just be patient. 3 days later, I go into G&G with my son, and somebody's giving away free newspapers. I glance at the headline, and my son's pulling on my arm. Mommy, 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 can I have a quarter? Please, 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 for the candy machine, please. I reach in my purse, and I pull out 6 quarters, and I put them in his palm, and I say, go for it, kid. And I sit down on the sidewalk, and I read the paper. And I still don't know if I've done the right thing, but this priest will never work with children again. And for today, that's going to be enough. Okay, just a quick reminder, the bookmarks are around, and next month we are here on September 3rd. It's the first Wednesday every month, so it's pretty easy to remember. You can just throw it in your calendar that way, first Wednesday of the month. And it is, anyone remember the theme? Affliction. There you go, affliction. And I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, and some people have, but I'm just going to flat out tell you that all the themes this year are movie titles. So, yeah, this month, Do the Right Thing, Affliction, and I think we have Dress to Kill coming up pretty soon. So, there you go. Melinda, how about let's go with my right hand or my left hand?
Do the right thing.
Left. You pointed at this one.
I know, I'm dyslexic.
It's my right. I'm going to go with my right here, even though you said left. Is that correct?
That's perfect.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see what we got here. That is Hal. Hal McCown will be our final storyteller for the evening. I hope that the last storyteller, the one that did not get chosen there, would come up and tell the first line of their story at the end of the evening. So before we bring Hal up, real quick, what were the results of the last time you did the wrong thing? Ordering tickets for others, you will be out money. I wonder if that's tonight. Because there are a couple of seats. And then I dislocated my toe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Hal McCown. Here we go.
But you know, for you that have told stories, I don't know if you're aware that, when you know what we're going to be talking about and what the theme is, it's pretty amazing. Because all of a sudden you become instantly aware of everything around you. And so I was thinking about things on TV, and I was on the internet, and I was on in the newspaper, and everybody's talking about doing the right thing. Wow, that's pretty impressive. So now the question is, okay, what am I going to talk about? So I go through all kinds of things. And my wife tells you, you should try this. And my friend says, oh, go do that one. That's a lot of fun. And so at 3 o'clock this afternoon, I thought, that's it. That's the right thing to tell. So I'm going to tell you a story about 3 people. Me, my son, and the guy that used to be my boss. The story goes like this. I became a Christian when I was 40. My son was 11. Now the only reason that's important to you is because at some point I'm going to tie all that together by telling you that when I did, I got really excited. And I kept thinking, I need to do the right thing. It says, okay, what's the right thing? Well, the right thing is that you need to spend more time with your family. Because, see, I was one of those people that worked all the time. I worked 16, 18 hours a day. I worked 6 days a week. I was salaried. Yeah, it's okay. And so, but it meant I wasn't home. So I was really, for some reason, I felt bad about that. And I realized how terrible it was. So I decided, okay, I'm going to make it a point that I'm going to put my work secondary and my family right there in the front. So I decide within a matter of 5 days that they're going to have this wonderful father-son fishing camp thing. My son and I don't fish, but so we're going to go to this thing. And so, but one of the problems is I work for a guy who's about my age that used to be my peer, or one of my peers. And what I do is, what I did was I ran department stores, and so that went big events and the whole schmagilla. So on this particular weekend, this was some big deal, and we were going to make $1 gazillion, and I decide I'm not working it. So I don't even ask my boss. I just automatically go out and buy these tickets. We're going to go to this reservation thing, and we're going to do the fishing. So then when I get back and I make all these things, I call him. And I said, Chris, that's his name. I said, Chris, I'm not going to be here on Saturday. And now Chris has very colorful language, and since this is on TV, I won't tell you exactly what he said. But the point being, he said, you can't, because every one of your peers is going to be there. How can I defend you not being there? I said, I really don't care, because it is more important than I do the family. So he says, well, what's going to happen if you're not there? I said, listen, I have very, very competent people. They will take care of everything, and they'll know what the right thing to do is. He says, well, if one thing goes wrong, one thing, your ass is mine. That was part of his colorful language. So, I said, okay. I said, don't worry about it. So we go to this camp, and we come back, and it is like everything I had hoped. It was so much fun, and I'm all pumped and everything. So, and the boss is fine, and so the next year comes around, and the camp comes up again, and says, oh, we're going to go do this again. And so this time I don't have to go through all this stuff with my boss. I just call him and say, hey, same scenario, and he says, whatever. And so we did it, and we had a wonderful time. Now, third year, my son is now 13. We're sitting at the table getting ready to make our plans. And he said, Dad, he said, you told me I should always tell the truth. Okay, that's true. What do you want to tell me? I hate fishing. I said, you're kidding. When did that happen? He said, I've always hated fishing. So I said, well, why? I mean, why did we go? He said, because it was important to you. Oh. So I thought, well, he really stepped up to the plate and did the right thing. So we decided that from that point on, once a year, for a weekend, we would do whatever we mutually agreed upon. Because you have to be careful and not say, okay, son, we'll do whatever you want. Because my son's a world-class cyclist. It's never going to happen in my life. So I just want to tell you that sometimes you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes funny incidents happen. But if you all do the right thing, it works out. Thank you much.
One more time, how about a big round of applause for Hal? We have two prizes tonight. So we have the prize for the storyteller, and then nicely, John over at Aquas has said that tonight the person that gets their ticket pulled, and I'm going to do this one real quick, gets one free beverage over there. Could be wine, could be beer, could be pork, could be soda. So right down, and you got to bring this thing with you, and it is only for tonight. So, and he's going to stay open late just for you. All right, so there you go. So that's down at Aquas. So I'm going to pull that one right now. Then I'm going to ask if that one storyteller that did not get chosen this evening would like to come up and tell the first line of their story. No, there's two halves of the ticket. You have one half, we have one half. So you don't need to throw it in here. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're going to throw this around. This one right here is going to get a free drink 2 doors down or 3 doors down, whatever it is.
Some light. We need a light.
All right, they need some light. There you go. You can do it by feel? You guys can?
Rails.
In a minute. We'll do that right after this. Yeah. 967-8336. 36. Desi, who's only 19, gets free beverage. Nice, Des. There you go. All right. And now, what I'm hoping will happen, would that one storyteller that did not get a call like to come up and tell their first line? Come on. There you go. Bradford Rex is going to come up and tell the first line just to tease you so that you come back and see him next month. So there you go. Tell it, Brad.
I don't know what the bell curve of stupidity for adolescence is, but I was on the ascendancy at the age of 15.
Bradford Rex, ladies and gentlemen. Now I would like the storytellers that did tell their stories this evening to come up front so you guys can all take one last look at them and be reminded of the people you saw earlier. And then I want you all to think about who you would pick as your favorite storyteller for the evening. Once I get them all up here, come on up. I'm going to back out of the way here. And then I will pull somebody's number. Take a look at them all, everyone. Know which one was your favorite for the evening. Don't forget about, here we go. All right, take a good look. Now you know which one you are going to choose. No hesitation, no bribery involved. Here is the number, 967-8360. Right up front, who's your favorite storyteller this evening? Which lady down there? I'm not seeing. Melinda! I have a prize for Melinda. Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to thank you guys all very much for coming out tonight. It's been a really great night. Congratulations, Melinda. And we will see you right back here first Wednesday of next month. And it is Affliction. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.